Stay put.
Any last words? I've got a clear shot. I'll not let you get away! Ha! He's trying to loot us!
Found your men.
And I found where his brothers are kept. Help me release them.
No, mate. I've settled my debt. Meddling with slaves is none of my affair. I doubt there's even a Templar behind it all.
All affairs of freedom are assassins' affairs. What is your price?
What?
A man without principle must be moved by coin. How much do you need?
There is a key I'm looking for. Belongs to a set I've been stripping off Templars.
The Templar keys? I thought they'd been destroyed.
I'm not the only one who knows about them, then.
If we find it, it's yours.
You have a deal. Let's go get your friends.
can't believe it.
God save me! And flay all you devils!
Get matched today with a tax expert who's just right for your situation. They'll do your taxes from start to finish, and you can work with the same expert year after year with TurboTax Live Full Service.
New things that came out today with this DLC. So, first thing I wanted to show you actually is this outfit. This one's by far my favorite DLC. This is Captain Drake's
Welcome
outfit.
to the Animus, powered by Abstergo
As you can
Entertainment.
see, he was knighted, so he was served with Francis Drake. And you have kind of some plate mail on this outfit, which makes it really cool. These are actually also his pistols that I have equipped, as well as his swords. So that's really cool. Also, something I wanted to show off really quick is the sails and the figurehead that I currently have on the boat, the jackdaw. These are actually from the Black ship. If you couldn't tell, because it sails in black. And the figurehead on the front, which is actually a Grim Reaper. You can't really tell here, but I'll go ahead and show you once I get in the captain's quarters.
It is a good life. Best, they never change. And may it never change us. Abilene, do you still call yourself an assassin? Whatever name you take, you came to me for help once, and now I must ask the same of you. There is a uncanny strength and wit, patience, gifts. She is accused of being a slave, and her master has placed a hive.
Real quick, if you're in the go a lot, but appreciate. That's the.
I love this show fighting the conquest of the.
The tabs you open here.
The drunk.
30 islands off, the west coast of Africa, as
What's
well as
this?
Portugal, Spain, and
Only
elsewhere.
survivor? Only captive? You didn't lose
And
the
welcome
battle.
before the
How can we win when the
In
dogs all up
1920,
in the
historian
mountains?
Connor C.
You
Wilson
just hide in
said,
caves and wait.
one of the
See us
longest
coming
underwritten
every
chapters
time.
in the history of the United States is that speaking of the relations of the Negroes and the Indians, end quote. How and under what conditions did Native Americans and Africans come in contact with each other? How much intermarrying took place between the two groups? How did white supremacy
Thank you.
shape
Hurry
those relations?
to my bureau.
That great libertarian, Thomas Jefferson, said of the Native Americans, quote, "We would never stop pursuing them with war, while one remains on the face of the earth," end quote. How close did Jefferson and other Europeans come to realizing this objective? We'll explore these and other questions with Dr. Jack Ford, author of Black Africans and Native Americans, Color, Race, and Caste in the Evolution of Red-Black People, 1400s to 1860.
Ah, yes.
And Ben walked in. The kid was sharp, too sharp. But Ben had...
Ah, yes. Civil War. One of the great traditions of being an American is either participating in a Civil War reenactment or observing. You see how
Despite having the largest
Slave. And it is believed that they enslaved up to 1.25 million Europeans.
From the distant...
After having recently done my
It's because there are historical truths and evidence that clearly portrays that there has been a global cover-up of our history. Most High sent prophets aforetime telling us that there will be a conspiracy to destroy and hide his people's true identity. But what we also tend to forget is that a major part of erasing a people's history is by taking away their land and covering up their footprint. And it's example of this is today's aggressive tactics of gentrification being used in communities in which we historically resided. With gentrification comes reallocation of lands, which cause history to be forgotten and culture to become lost. Now, let's turn to Psalms 83 as the first chapter to spawn up this local conspiracy to hide the true identity of the Israelites. Verse 1 to 5 reads, "For lo, thy enemies make it tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy enemies. They have said, Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee." As we read in the first 5 verses of Psalm 83, we see that the world has formed a union to destroy the Israelites, to hide our true identity. When they said, "Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance," remember that David before time prophesied that this would happen to our people. Israel fell into sin, and this prophecy came into fruition. But wait, if we were to be cut off from being a nation, and our name be no more in remembrance, then what could this passage be applied to? Because the biblical history of Israel has been taught for thousands of years in institutions of life, even to this very day. This passage is telling us that Gentile nations will attempt to destroy the identity of Israel's descendants by all means necessary, which included sticking around true Israelites with imposters while hiding Israel's true identity. So now I ask, why is it so hard to believe that our enemies would not be capable of lying, switching locations, and burying the evidence of our existence? Is covering up a conquered civilization not a common practice that the Europeans and other conquering nations practice? Are European conquerors of the Americas roots of this variable shape real life history, or just a parody? Everyone is familiar with the words of Christopher Columbus being discovered in the Americas, heavy quotations. But little do people know that in 1492, for Columbus' exploration fleet, he hired English-speaking Moanos/Moorish sailors who were not only intended to being navigators, but also his interpreters. According to this article on History.com, Christopher Columbus' intentions were to sail west to find alternate trading routes to Asia.
Where to next?
That's enough work for one night.
Why
Or do you grow fond of it?
That's it, no Templar. What about the key?
The Templar did not show himself. You will have your key next time.
No, Anto, there is no next time.
Europe was very familiar with the lands
When you
that lie
discover your
east of
conscience, or
Constantinople.
admit how badly you
Thanks
want
to the
the
12th
key,
century explorer
there
Marco
will be
Polo,
the next time.
Europeans at the time were very familiar with the lands such as present-day Central Asia, India, and the lands found in present-day China. So again, I ask, what was the point of having a crew who spoke Hebrew and yet none of the languages of the Oriental lands? Was it because he had secret intentions of going to lands where people spoke Hebrew? As I mentioned before, Christopher Columbus' true name was Salvador Fernandez Zarco. But is this the only truth that modern-day academia continues to hide from us about this mysterious man and his lesser-known intentions? Of course not. There are many sources pointing out that Mr. Zarco was in fact a Morano, aka a Moor.
How many people really realize what happened within the Jewish community in Spain in 1492?
Well, this is a mystery that God has kept for a long time. Because we've said that Christopher Columbus is from Italy. No, he's from Portugal. No, he's from Spain. But where is he really from? Well, they say that he was from Genoa, Italy, but his Italian writing is horrible. But his Sicilian is perfect, So even as a name, recently there is a growth, an exponential growth of discovery that point to the fact that Christopher Columbus, first of all, his name is not Columbus. His name, and not because I'm Hispanic with Sanchez surname and Martinez and so forth, but his name is Colon. And so in Spanish we have it right, Cristobal Colon. So his real name is Salvador Garto. All right, but now recently we discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon, was known as a quote-unquote Marrano. We discovered that Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon, was known as a quote-unquote Marrano. Marrano? The Marranos are those that were forced to convert to Roman Catholicism, that were Spartans, and then they were forced to eat pork, which is very uncultured, and then they were called Marranos, pigs. Why? Because the facade of the Spanish Inquisition, Spanish Inquisition, it comes from the root word for Spanish. But this was more than required. It was fine and forcing Jews to convert to Roman Catholicism. So what's happening during this time is that it's not so much the facade of religion to force people to convert to the Jews. It's because the town, the King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella are going broke. They're exploring all over the place, wars all over the place, they need money. So, who's got the money? Who are the financiers? Who are the ones that are so wealthy in Spain and later Portugal? Well, it's the Chinese, the Jews. So, as early as 1391, there was a major diaspora, meaning scattered, because of the oppression, torture, burnings at the stake of the Jews before and after conversion.
The story of the slaves in America begins with Christopher Columbus. His voyage to America was not financed by Queen Isabella, but by Luis de Santiago, who advanced the sum of 17,000 ducats, about 5,000 pounds today, equals nearly 50,000 pounds, to finance the voyage, which began on August 3rd, 1492. Columbus was accompanied by 5 Marranos, Jews who had forsworn their religion and supposedly became Catholic. Louis de Torre, interpreter, Martin, the surgeon, Lamal, physician, Alonso de la Calle, and Gabriel Sanchez.
Now, since we have established that Christopher Columbus, aka Salvador Fernandez Santos, is in fact a Marrano, let us look into the history of wars, Mauriceos, Marranos, and Moors. But before we do, I would like to know, what do you first believe that Salvador Fernandez Santos is an actual name of Christopher Columbus? I'm sure that not many of our teachers have taught us this. Heard you mentioned before the term in association with the word Marrano. And looking up the word, most authors try to hide the fact that during the era of Christopher Columbus, the word Marrano was introduced. Words such as Mormon, Mauricean to describe the populations of the Jews and Muslims, curriculum being the sea. Language or differences with associated with the word Marrano. We find out that these group of Jews were in actuality crypto Muslims. This occurred because during this era, the Jew himself, under the influence of the Roman Catholic Church, had more tolerance towards the Jewish faith rather than the faith of the invaded Muslims. What does Marrano mean? According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, Marrano in Spanish history means converted to Christian faith to escape persecution, but who continued to practice Judaism in secret. It was a term of abuse and also applies to any slaves. Marrano is inserted. Just like in the snippet I showed you earlier in this documentary, the word Marrano is associated with a person practicing Judaism in secret, aka a crypto Jew. However, the term Marrano was also used as a derogatory word meaning swine to disparage people who followed a certain dietary lifestyle, such as the Jews and Muslims. When reading page 33 from the book The Trace of God, Dorita, and Religion, you can see that the word Marrano was not only used for Jews, but also for Muslims. Now let's investigate the definition of the word Moor. The definition of the word Moor from the Encyclopedia Britannica reads, Moor, in English language, Moroccan or formerly a member of the Muslim population of Al-Andalus, now Spain and Portugal. But I will show you that the name Moor was often interchanged with words Moro and Morana. These words were not solely applied to individuals of Jewish and Muslim religion, but more importantly, they were applied to people of dark-skinned complexions who practiced these religions. Here's the definition of Morisco from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Morisco, little more, one of the Spanish Muslims or their descendants who became baptized Christians. The word Morisco, like the term Moor, was used in association with the Muslim faith. But is it only Muslims who are known for being Moriscos? When we investigate the usage of the word Morisco, Wikipedia states, one was for Spanish immigrants to Spanish America who have been Moriscos passing for Christians. Since Moriscos as well as new Christian converted Jews were banned in the late 16th century. One such case in colonial Colombia where a man was accused for being a Morisco, the court examined his penis to determine if he were circumcised in Islamic age. As we just read in this Wikipedia article, the author cited a book called Disappearing Disease, Figuring Difference with the Colonial New Kingdom of Granada. This book referred to a man who was accused of being a Morisco of the Jewish Muslim faith, further solidifying the fact that Jews were also considered to be Moriscos. Continue reading from this Wikipedia article. It states that the more common usage of Morisco in Spanish America was for Iceland offspring, Spaniard and a mulatto. But even this assumption from Wikipedia is entirely true. When we investigate this 18th century painting of the Spanish caste system, we clearly see the words Morisco, Moro, and Mora, which we learned earlier all simply mean Moor. These words were strictly being used for people of a dark skin tone, and not for the light-skinned offspring. After the bastard! We learned in this segment that the Moors, also known as the Moranos, Moriscos, Moros, Mora, and even the Morenos or Negro people, practiced the Muslim or Jewish faith. Christopher Columbus' identity crisis is very similar to the identity crisis of the biblical figure of Jesus, or as I like to call the true savior. Ouch. So modern day academia will make today's conviction of Christopher Columbus is not valid. They will refuse to conduct an extensive investigation of what he may have looked like, and there's no wonder. Is it because we've been taught our whole lives that Christopher Columbus looked like this? When in actuality, they look like this? In the previous segment, we discovered the actual identity of Christopher Columbus was that of a quote-unquote black man, and not the fabricated version we're all familiar with. Even though I have recently discovered this fact, institutions of higher learning have always known. Instead of teaching the general public this finding about Christopher Columbus, today's education system continues to hide this pivotal information about Christopher Columbus. Whenever I say institutions of higher learning, the word faith refers to those who dictate what is generally accepted by the masses. These influential authorities continue to hide any hidden truths behind this information, paywalls, greed, and the average person's preconceived notions. The people who indoctrinate the society do so for obvious reasons. If these truths were to spread like wildfire, our society would be forced to reveal more hidden information and enforce a complete rewriting of history. The reason I spent the first segment highlighting the 13th century Moorish explorer is to show that the rulers of this society have been extremely effective at hiding true history, such as was done with Jesus. Now let us take the understanding that we learned from the last segment about this deception, which was Christopher Columbus, and apply it to the history that we were taught about early European contact with the Americans. As I mentioned in the last segment, Christopher Columbus and his English expeditions discovered West, claimed and ordered to connect treasure. If this was true, However, he had to make navigational changes to routes introduced by explorers such as Marco Polo due to the Turkish Empire blocking trade routes to Asia. However, this was never lied taught to the masses before the indoctrinators. Later in this segment, I will show you that Christopher Columbus had no intentions of going to India. Since I have brought up the country of India during the 13th century, and India was not used as Asian passports. At this time, the name of President India was Hindustan, and people were called Hindustani. Today, India is close to the name of a popular newspaper called Hindustan Times. Remember this fact, because later I will be entering this information. Continuing with the story, it said that Christopher Columbus' first voyage took place on April 12, 1492. Businesses named here as the Moors were expelled from Europe. It is documented in the 1970s book titled Sails to Port, The Secret History of Christopher Columbus, that shortly tours the terms of Christopher Columbus from British before he to American Aboriginals of the land. And I thought we find it funny that illuminating tourists of Hebrews, the American Aboriginals, and not any of the other languages. Some may see that illuminating tourists speaking Hebrew to the people was by chance, but I strongly disagree, because there is evidence to suggest that Christopher Columbus' intentions were to sail to the Americas at one time. History teaches that in 1492, the Muslims had blocked trade routes to Asia. Remember that during this era, nations other than Roman Catholic Church were at war with Islamic nations. If this is actual history, with him being a crypto Muslim, why would it affect Christopher Columbus' travels? After all, he was a Verano. In 1492 was being completely funded by the Veranos and the Catholics. In the upcoming clip from the previous video titled First Three Nations in the World, I mentioned before that the Jews in the Iberian Peninsula had close ties to the Muslim world. You can dive much deeper into who the Sephardic Jews are by watching this video in its entirety. As of Sephardic Jewry in the medieval Arab world, one Mark Cohen says world Jewry can be divided into two parts: the Jews of Islam and the Jews of Christendom. Or I have referred to them as Jews living under the crescent and Jews living under the cross. Alright? The Jews under the crescent comprise those who own their traditions in the Islamic world, encompass populations stretching from Persia, alright? From Persia, Islamic world, from Persia, right? Where's Persia? We just came from that area, ancient area. Talking about Sardis and Parda, all that, right? In the east to North Africa, in Muslim Spain in the west, all the way. That's all, right there. You heard that? All the way to Spain. The difficulty stems from the fact that the Sephardic are historically part of the Jews of Christendom, so they descend from those expelled from Catholic Spain before 1492, while the term Sephardim has also been employed in recent times to designate those Jews in Israel who emigrated from Muslim Arab lands, right? Originally Sepharad. Sepharad, you already know Sepharad, what that is originally. So it says here, in other words, Sepharad was the place of ancient Jewish diaspora. It was thought to be Sardis in Asia Minor, right? We just read that. It was thought to be Sardis in Asia Minor. Well, what happened? A little further down, when I get into why I came to this book, says Sephardic civilization began long before the Reconquista, at a time when the peninsula was ruled by Muslims and when Arabian culture surrounded and influenced it. What? Arabian culture influenced the Jews. Sephardic society in the medieval Arab world was characterized by several features: its sense of noble descent, its tradition of service to Gentile rulers, its traditions of service to Gentile philosophy and poetry, and its history of crypto-Judaism, secret Judaism, the secret native practice of Judaism that was apparent to merchants, hunters, to rest. You don't understand what they're saying. There's a lot of these Sephardic Jews can't even Muslim Moors. They had to secretly, practice their religion, but they openly admit to be Christians. So they were labeled Christians, but they weren't. They were crypto Jews or East Coast crypto Muslims.
conventional wisdom has traditionally held that many Muslims in the Arab world enjoyed substantially greater security and higher level of political and cultural integration than Jews living under the cross did, all right? So, even in modern times, you got Muslims fighting Jews, and, that's what we see in the news all the time. During this time, Sephardic Jews were living good under Muslim rule, under Arab rule. All right, this book, real quick to correlate, says Farewell España, the world of the Sephardim remembered, by Howard M. Sephardim. Okay, Farewell España, the world of Sephardim remembered, all right? Sephard. And it says here that it was a city, a realm that proved uniquely congenial to its Jews, dispersed in small enclaves throughout the southern and central regions of the peninsula. These Jews of Sepharad, of Sardis, right over there in Turkey, the Hebrew term for Iberia, openly welcomed their new conquerors. What? They openly what? They openly welcomed their conquerors, the Moors. They helped them. Yet earlier, under the Christian Visigoths, the Sephardim, remember who the Visigoths, the Goths, the Sumerians, the Goths, the same people, the Japhetic tribes, the Sephardim had endured harsh conversionary pressures and intermittent physical abuse. Now they were quite prepared to offer their services to the invading Moors. Who's offering their services? Sephardic Jews, even to organize their own Jewish militias for battle against the common enemy. In consequence, the royal administration have learned to trust the Jews, even as consigned them to their own residential quarters in Cordoba, Seville, and other captured cities. It ensures that they were decently accommodated as a rule, within sighted under the protection of the royal palace, right? These Jews were being protected by the Moors, all right, and suffered no limitations on their freedom of movement or economic activity. The arrangement was productive enough to attract Jews from other lands. During the 8th and 9th centuries, several thousand Moroccan and Egyptian Jews joined the far larger numbers of Muslim Berbers who migrated to Andalusia. This book says Handbook to Life in the Medieval World, Volume 3, by Madeline Miller Cosman and Miguel Jones. It says here, Sepharad, the Jews of Al-Andalus. It says the Jews who aided the Muslim armies in establishing Islamic rule in the Iberian Peninsula, they aided, again, they helped them, right? They had the realms, they had the trade routes, they knew how to help them get in. They controlled the money, they controlled the economy. The Jews who aided the Muslim armies in establishing Islamic rule in the Iberian Peninsula were rewarded with one of the most lenient and generous manifestations of Dihimi status. So when I read this book now, it says the non-Jewish origins of the Sephardic Jews. I didn't say Paul Wexler. Page 25 of this book, it says here the Sephardic Jewish population had the same constellation of geographical origins as the Arabs and Berbers. Same. Historical, ethnographic, and onomastic evidence shows that, alright? Historical, ethnographic, and onomastic evidence shows that same people, in addition to a North African component in the Iberian Jewish community, Jews from Syria, Jews from Syria, Iraq, and the Arabian Peninsula also accompanied the Arabs to North Africa, right? All those other Jews, Sepharda, Sardis, right? Sepharda. So a lot of these Japhetic tribes eventually took over in Babylonian and Hamitic tribes. A lot of mixture over there before they even got over here. So a lot of those Jews also accompanied the Arabs to North Africa and Spain, the western march of Jews and Bedouins, right? There seems to have been one significant
mid to late 15th century is known to history as the Age of Exploration, the time in which Europeans dared to venture beyond the coastal waters of Old World Europe to the New World of the Americas. It was an era when Spanish and Portuguese ships landed, but were soon followed by the French, the British, and the Dutch. Today, as we delve into this age of exploration, we'll discuss 3 reasons why Europe took to the seas. They are the spirit of adventure, the religious desire to free souls, and of course, wealth. When we're finished, it'll be up to you to decide which type.
To this stuff yourself, I believe this is really great evidence. It just might be the fact that the most they'll keep showing us in plain sight as they usually do. But I wouldn't use this as great evidence to prove this in the Americas. What is interesting in this joint use is the slaves of America were Israelites. And I can prove in Scripture that if you believe that, America has to be the ancient land for Israelites. And I can prove in Scripture that if you believe that, America has to be the ancient land. Before that, I got this point that from the beginning of time, started getting free and started getting opportunity. They were trying to see that somewhere that they never came from. And it's led by me and you are you know that all politics is all the devil. There's two different things of the same burger. So where did the black technology start? The 18th and 19th century. European Americans who politicians started telling folks return to the country. So we have white politicians. Great. That sounds like that's almost a type of then they said it's about from inside out. They started using black folks to tell other black folks to go to Africa. So this is this is Prince Hall. That is the father of Freemasonry. It's named after Prince Hall Freemasonry. So Prince Hall rallied to permit black men in the army. It says United Boston Black Men to create the first black school so they could indoctrinate black folk and organize black citizens for black children. He started a to Africa movement more than 100 years before longest army. Wow. So it was a basic to infiltrate the black community to please. So, if you treat black folks over to Africa, you're going to listen to a white politician or a black Freemason. These are the people telling you the truth. And everybody wants to go back to Africa, and everyone's from Africa. Wow, these are really good resources that you really need to use Africa. This channel is part of the History Hits network.
When European sailors reached the New World, they soon came across the native people.
This investigation is fun. displayed in the creation of subsequent events to the deluge, attempted to be philosophically considered in a series of letters to a son going to. So yes, again, civilization could have started from the north in accordance with many myths. The Bible is 4 rivers in association with the Garden of Eden, and you can see 4 rivers in the black magnetic cube, the Kaaba, in the center of the lake, where the rivers emanate from that represents the creator. Now, James Churchward, in his book, The Lost Continent of Mu, referred to Mu as the motherland. And to be honest with you, Mu is a creation of James Churchward as a decoy for what his friend William Niven had found in the Valley of Mexico. Churchward based his book, The Lost Continent of Mu, on the archaeological finds of his friend William Niven. William Niven found over 2,600 Egyptian-style artifacts in the Valley of Mexico that rewrite history because his find was dated to be over 50,000 years old. Do you hear me? Let me repeat that for you. William Niven found over 2,600 Egyptian-style artifacts in the Valley of Mexico that rewrite history because his find was dated to be over 50,000, or should I say NACCAL, or NAGA, tablets that Niven found gave you the sacred symbols of the moon. Mount Moon is considered to be the center of all the visible, metaphysical, and spiritual universes. And Mary, in the center of the 4 corners, or 4 cardinal points of this. Now, in a literal sense, physical sense, the Olmec Moors, being the first human beings from Mount Meru, because they are married men, aka renowned. Hilariously, central axis where the universal life force, electromagnetic energy, runs through, branches out to feed everyone and everything. Mount Meru literally creates the vortex, spirit of life that created the earth. Yes, Black Panther put golden towards the morning star in the east, which is Venus. But Jesus was also known as the bright morning star, which is Venus. But Kotu is, of course, one of the chief gods of Mesoamerica, so this means that America is the true east. More evidence that the west is the true east, the more king in the orient, or east. Here you will see a painting from 1703 by 2 European artists, Christophe Royel and Elder and Casper Lugan. That was in the Orient East, which is the Americas. The painting is called Moorish King of the Orient. Notice the feathered crown the Moor is wearing in the photo, which indicates that the painting is that of an American Indian chief that was seen over here in the Americas in the 1700s. More evidence that the West is the true East is this ancient world map from 1548, which shows the Orient East, because this ancient map indicates that India's superior was in North America, and so was La China. Yes, India and China was in North America. Look at how big La Florida used to be America, and so was La China. Yes, India and China was in North America. Look at how big. La Florida used to be, matter of fact, was in North America. Look at how big La Florida used to be, matter of fact. The America is the true east because the Euphrates River is in North America. The Americas is indeed the old world because the Euphrates River is in America, according to this scholarly article by renowned historian and author Angela Van Halen. Quote, local sites, foreign sites. They say their sketchbook of human and animal curiosities in early modern Amsterdam. Unquote. You will see where they had caught a tapir, a now extinct species, in the river Euphrates in America. The article goes on by saying that this is probably an error because the river Atlantis is the people of Lord Shiva, which was a deity associated with a three-pronged pitchfork. This Atlantic civilization came from the Yucatan Peninsula via the Indians, India, as I have already previously demonstrated. Pale, and it's such a magnificent Colonel James Churchward, who did be jumping years ago. Records about the garden of the elder gods, and dawn. Quote, an overview of such regional centers will connect with a nation where one of the early academics was evidently located in ancient Burma. Other overall nations, perhaps also, will be felt the necessity of recovering the libraries of the Mayans, as in and about the beginning of the Christian era to save them from the destruction of the hands of the devastating horde that invaded their counter in those times. G. to Tomo Ye to Have alien? No, Native Americans were not the first Americans. Human footprints were found in New Mexico. They are 23,000 years old. This discovery changed everything we knew about American history. These mysterious people walked here long before Native. Okay, so I've been talking about. There was a Spanish explorer. The scariest thing to me is losing. So before I don't know, there are ancient South Florida lies in an interesting. Achieve history. Maps from the Age of Discovery are filled with some pretty interesting geography. They had a mass that kept the world. Here is yet again another.
What's going on, everybody? So for the opening of this video, I actually wanted to get straight to it. And the reason I wanted to get straight to it is because I don't want to spend too much time on the hieroglyphs, but I have to go over it because that's a main part. That's a main part of it. Now, when you're looking at this particular map, it's easy to become confused when you're looking at it and it says something like Tiberians. And one thing that people often overlook when they're actually reading this map is, one, the language that the map is written in, they don't know that language, or they either ignore it. A former Seminole town on the Ocklawaha River in North Central Florida, the Ocklawaha division of the Seminoles descended from the Yamasee, betrayed their origin by their dark skin color, by the dark color of their skin, excuse me. So these people with dark skin that are on this map, these people are talking about. And we know that Ocala, Florida says that Fort King National Historic Park was an important Second Seminole War site. So a part of the Second Seminole War was fought there. This book is black people are indigenous to the Americans. And in this text, it actually quotes what was quoted before I showed. Now, here's the original in one of the texts, which is the sketch of the Seminole War. Now, in the sketch of the Seminole War, it says the same thing. The Ocala tribal Seminoles are thought to be descendants of the Yamasee, as they are blacker than the other tribes, and the Yamasee are said to have been remarkably dark-skinned. Now, if you read the book, The Yamasee Indians from Florida, South Carolina, it tells you that a lot of them actually were considered Negro and mulatto, moreno was one of the terms used also.
And then they'll go on to recite insignificant facts that they learned about Egypt when they were spoon-fed up directly by some academic they trusted. And now that spoonful has floated up the rectum into the heart. So now they take it personally. How dare you say America's Egypt after all the bullshit I've heard? I've seen the pyramids, buddy. I've been there. That is definitely Egypt. You struck a nerve with their whole perception of ancient history. The subject they may have felt with some personal esteem, so it's only natural. They may be a little butthurt. After all, they did loosen their loins to get that spoonful up there. And now you're telling them that spoonful is no good? You'd be mad too, as many people are. First time they realize all of the lies they've been butt-fed. Feedings aside, there is no legitimate reason to take their information as true, considering the worlds of information hidden by these institutions of controlled academia to this day. When someone usually says, America is not Egypt, understand they have become shills for the establishment. According to them and their position, all history confirming their position must be completely true. They are locked in to the terms of their silent agreement with the works of evil men. Agents of the beast will gladly stand on the blood of the righteous and wave the flag for the works of those evil men if it validates their position. Especially if it doesn't require the work necessary to develop their own nuanced opinion about a certain subject. To completely grasp the subject matter, the superficial history of ancient Egypt that has been propagandized will not do, because that narrative, as we have learned thus far, is completely false. Whether it's the construction of the pyramids, the chronology of Egyptian dynasties, the Crusades, or the discovery of the pyramids by Napoleon, their version of Egyptian history is completely inconsistent. A significant problem with just saying the statement, America is not Egypt, is the fact that that statement alone literally denies the pre-Columbian antiquity or scale of American civilizations, many of which predate or larger than Egypt and practiced the same traditions and customs that were exclusively attributed to Egypt. In an earlier episode, we highlighted the upper Mississippi Basin, specifically the areas around St. Louis, Mound City, and Cahokia. We even spoke to Harry Hubbard about his amazing discovery of the tombs of Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and Alexander the Great in Illinois. In this episode, we detail the lost civilizations of the Middle and Lower Mississippi.
In the first episode, we addressed the Mississippi River and its relationship to the great river from the Bible, not the Nile, but the Euphrates. We also showed how the Nile in Africa does not fit the biblical description of the great river, but the Mississippi fits perfectly. Furthermore, we examined the etymology behind the word and defined the word Nile as a Greek improper noun, which means tributary, creek, or stream, and not the proper name of a river, as assumed by most people. In the episode, we concentrated our search around the vicinity of Mound City, which was essentially destroyed to build the city of St. Louis. We also investigated the significance behind the name of St. Louis and showed the relationship between King Louis IX, St. Louis, and their connection with Egypt during the Crusades. In this episode, we dig deeper into Louisiana Territory, specifically the lower Mississippi, south of Memphis, Tennessee, which seems like a good place to start. According to the classical narrative, Memphis was the capital of Lower Egypt, but also was the golden city, which symbolically recognized the union between.
Don't you want a chance to defend yourself before a magistrate?
The city of Memphis, Tennessee, was a U.S. city built upon an ancient American civilization, just like St. Louis. The city of Memphis has remnants all over
Captain Kenway,
not just
in time. I'll see you back at boat.
Chickasaw Heritage Park was at one time a Chickasaw fortress, but was conquered by the French in the 1700s and renamed for Assumption. The Tennessee Encyclopedia states that over 2,400 blacks
mostly guarding the colleges such as Williamsburg under Governor Spots.
During their takeover of the Chickasaw Fort. One would wonder, how did the French find so many cooperative blacks and Indians to fight the Chickasaw a half-century before the apex of the North American slave trade? How could all those so-called blacks fight for the French have been African if there were barely any so-called Africans on the continent at the time? And the few that were there were in Virginia. Something to think about. Another thing to think about is how Memphis has always been one of the historically blackest cities in America. It should come as no surprise that most of the people who hail from Memphis are indeed related and are ancestors of the conquered Chickasaw Nation, who over the time following assimilated into French culture prior to 1820 and American culture afterwards. The historically black neighborhood of Orange Mound in Memphis apparently got its name from the orange shrubs on the former Negro plantation. Not a mound, apparently. Surprised they didn't just call it Orange Bush, if that were the case. But these aren't the only mounds built over by the city of Memphis. The Chucalissa mounds lie just to the south on the east side of the river. They were discovered during the construction of Shelbytown Negro Park in the 1930s. This mound complex has been attributed to the Middle Mississippian culture that extended up to Cahokia and throughout the Mississippi region, demonstrating a relationship that spread just as far. Yet the issue, as is the case with Big Mound or Mound City, St. Louis, the current city essentially destroyed any areas that could now be studied by modern archaeology. And as is the case across the Mississippi region, the French are hiding its secrets.
Well, King, these all this got me. The outside, cool. But on the inside, I'm like, King's new customers have my box. They want to predict instantly in bonus space.
This pirate bears the blood of many innocents on his hands. His Majesty's honorable representative has decreed the sentence shall be to hang by the neck until death. If I wasn't trussed up like a pig, I'd gut you, pal. My lads will find I've got a clear shot.
In East St. Louis, also to other historical black cities. Likewise, the difference being that the larger cities are on opposite sides of the river.
Clear shot at it tonight.
We must not forget King Louis IX is the only French king ever saint who turned into a saint. Or a saint. St. Louis being the gateway to the west, on the west side of the river, Memphis on the east, and both cities have large indigenous so-called black populations whose families have been living there long before French colonization. And of course, from Big River Park in West Memphis, you've got a perfect view of the large pyramid on the other side. A pyramid which has no historical significance or connection to ancient. And any assertion otherwise is conspiracy. Genius facts. You can just put a pyramid somewhere. It doesn't mean anything, all right? Did you know the city of Memphis, Egypt, was supposedly abandoned over 1,000 years ago? And now, an insignificant small town sits atop the ruins of the once great capital of ancient Egypt. Who knows what is behind the Egyptian philosophy of what to preserve and what to destroy? Because apparently nothing in Memphis was worth keeping. But what they did do, as stated by the top Egyptologists and historians, is in reality, this Egypt hasn't been a thing for over 1,000 years. The last time Memphis, Egypt was popping, according to the scholars. But it's still definitely popping and connected to a much larger kingdom that grew warm. The desert. And it wouldn't matter if there was a section of Memphis, Tennessee called Egypt or Egyptian-themed streets and names throughout the city. There is no connection between Memphis, Tennessee and the ancient, non-existent.
You there? Intruder! Come on, don't lose that shit!
Remember that when you're seeing all of these renditions. Hey, this is what Memphis looked like. The palace was white. We know this, we know that. Memphis literally doesn't exist. Yet Giza existed. Giza's still standing, but Memphis doesn't exist anymore.
statue of Ramses discovered in Memphis?
1820. According to Wikipedia, the statue of Ramses II is a 3,200-year-old figure of Ramses II, depicting him standing. It was discovered in 1820 by geologists.
Interloper, raise the alarm!
Of the town near Memphis, Egypt.
And all of this is just a coincidence. Besides, Memphis, Tennessee was named in 1819, during a time when niggas didn't even know about Memphis, Egypt. Oh, they maybe did that. I typed in Memphis, Egypt into Google, and Egypt, Memphis, Tennessee popped up. As a matter of fact, Google can't seem to find Memphis, Egypt. They say Memphis was abandoned and many of the building materials were used to build Cairo. It's important to understand that Cairo, Egypt is not technically an ancient city. If anything, it is another city.
Rouse yourselves, you duck!
Cairo, Egypt, as we know it, was built as a Byzantine Roman city
there! Shit!
during the Roman era, and later fell into the hands of the Muslims. The oldest structures in the city are Byzantine Coptic churches. Supposedly built in the mid to late 300s during the transition of Rome
Interloper,
to
raise the alarm!
This means the Romans, aka the Italians, French, Spanish, Germans, a whole bunch of niggas, they've been in Egypt since the 300s. How far are these churches from the pyramids? They've been in Egypt since 300. They know shit about the pyramids? Another interesting point is that the city of Memphis, Egypt, was supposedly built by Pharaoh Menes, aka Narmer of the First Dynasty, the pharaoh whose picture is on the Narmer stele. Of course, we remember that the Narmer stele is literally identical with several depictions from the Mesoamerican Mendoza influence. The supposed Memphis from the ancient Egyptian dynastic period was, according to the scribes, taken by the Persians in 525 BC, conquered again in 332 BC by Alexander. After his death, it was partitioned into the hands of the colonies until becoming a Roman city, following the saga of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. After that, it became a Christian city. That was until the Christians were conquered by the Muslims, and it became a Muslim city. And that was until the Crusades, when the period changed hands back and forth between Romans and Ottomans.
Violence here now.
Despite all of this history that is documented by academia regarding the occurrences at the time, not one person in Egypt, Persia, Greece, Babylon, or Rome could decipher one hieroglyphic. Until 1,000 years later, when Napoleon invades Egypt in 1800. So the French could not have known about Memphis, Egypt before they colonized Memphis, Tennessee. If the French